Every musician I have ever met can tell me the moment when they heard a performance that inspired them to play. I can't say I am different. While I can't say VictorWooten's Amazing Grace is what drove me to play, it has inspired me to push myself in a way I haven't before. The original words of Amazing Grace were released in 1779 in the only hymns by John Newton, whose Wiki is an absolute roller coaster to read. After its initial release, the words were put to several melodies, but its most well-known melody comes from when William Walker put the words to the tune of New Britain in his Southern's Harmonies and Musical Companion in 1835. Since then, it's become a staple hymn. The iconic New Britain melody is ultimately what VictorWooten used to begin and end his Improv Amazing Grace. There are 6 recordings of Wooten playing Amazing Grace that I was able to find. The original recording from Bela and the Flecktones, which was released in their 1996 album Live Art, as it was the first song on the second disc of the album and worked as his featured bass solo for the CD. For me personally, this is notable because it contained my favorite improv lick. It's crazy what he can do with just a scale. He proceeded to perform it several more times, including live at Bass Day in 1998, live at the Quick in 2002, the 2010 NAMM show, and that was the version I based my arrangement on, and the Huckabee show in 2012. And the most recent recording was in 2012 for his Music as a Language TED Talk. His version of Amazing Grace has several notable features, from his improv to the fact that he uses his bass guitar almost as a percussive instrument at some points. However, the most well-known technical aspect of the song, especially for the first portion, was the fact that he played almost the entirety of it with harmonics. For those who are unaware, harmonics, also sometimes called overtones or partials on other instruments, is a technique used to allow musicians to play well above their instrument's normal range, hence why VictorWooten is able to play such high notes in Amazing Grace. These harmonics are actually achieved several ways depending on the instrument, but the fundamental science is about the same behind all. Each instrument has a unique sound even while playing the same note. This is because each note an instrument plays contains several other notes within that tone. The note you hear being played is simply the most dominant frequency, with every other frequency making up what's called the timbre of the instrument. This is why a trumpet and a piano can be playing the same note and yet still sound distinct. The science behind how harmonics work is actually a still frequently studied topic in physics today, mainly as it pertains to telecommunication. The basic science of how it works can be described as adding more notes and antinodes to a wave. What that practically means on a string instrument looks like this. When you play a good note on a guitar, you pluck one of the strings that have been tuned to a certain frequency or note. This has the added complexities of before regarding timbre. And more notes can be played by shortening or lengthening the string so it vibrates at higher or lower frequencies. I doubt this is news to majority of you watching. However, it starts to get interesting when you play harmonics. What was described above is called the first harmonic of the string. Our visualization of the wave consists of one antinode, the peak of the wave, and 2 nodes on either end of the string, one at the bridge of the guitar and one at the top of the neck or the player's fingers depending on what note is being played. When playing a harmonic, a second antinode is added along with a third node, and that adds another half a wave onto the string via the interference of 2 waves to create a second harmonic. You continue adding nodes and antinodes to achieve 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on. As you can see, this is a rather complex technique, as not only do you need to be very delicate with your finger placements on the string, but many other basic techniques are changed around as well. Each harmonic note isn't necessarily placed near a fret, with it being possible to find 2 or more harmonics between one fret. The other interesting challenge these harmonics pose is, unlike traditional notes, when you travel up the neck of the guitar from away from its body, the notes actually get higher in pitch. It is hard to deny, however, that it is an impressive way to start a show, and VictorWooten uses it to great effect as the opening to some amazing improvisation. An impossible opening to a show, where VictorWooten shows that he can do anything he wanted to. In that moment, his music was a vessel, a canvas, where even the physical limitations of his instrument couldn't stop him. It was magical, watching him take his instrument, usually relegated to the background, a foundational instrument, and not only using it as of that foundation, but building his own song out of that. To make his own music out of an old hymn, or even just a scale. It leaves you on the edge of your seat, unable to wait and hear what more he could possibly play. Listening to each rendition is like listening to somebody pour their heart and soul out, and listening to the audience respond. And that is ultimately what brings us here, today, what brings me here. I have loved music all my life, I have played music all my life, and yet I now find myself at a new horizon, a new chapter of my life. Music hasn't fully left it, but I can feel it slipping away from me. I've lost a lot of structure where I used to do a majority of my playing with my peers. And although it makes me incredibly sad, I choose to see it as an opportunity. There are things that I never pushed myself to do before with my music. I was comfortable, I was good. So I find myself here at a new chapter of my life. I have decided to push myself to do something I have never tried before, and truly and genuinely learn how to solo, to take my music and make it truly my own. I present this to you as my own prologue for my journey that I wish to embark on, a journey of independence and improvement. I'll document it here so I have something to look back on and see how far I've come, even if I don't know where I'm